All right, we welcome back to the show Ron Paul, Republican congressman from Texas, former presidential candidate, who had some tough words for Ben Bernanke. Take a listen to this, please.
Inflation is a tax, and if the Federal Reserve and you as chairman have this authority to increase the money supply arbitrarily, you're probably the biggest taxer in the country.
Oh, Mr. Paul, I heard that this morning. I got so excited, sir. I just had to have you on. I'm so glad you're around today. I say almost nightly that inflation is the cruelest tax of all. And the Consumer Price Index, I'm sure you know this, but I didn't hear Bernanke reference it today. 1.1% increase in June, 7.9% at an annual rate over the past 3 months, and 5% over the last 12 months. Did Bernanke understand what you were getting at, sir?
Well, I was hoping he did. You know, I did bring up the CPI very briefly, but I thought he did concede half of the message that I gave, because he did say that inflation was a tax. He did acknowledge that, but he didn't acknowledge that he had anything to do with it. And, you know, I did make the concession to him that he himself didn't create every bit of inflation that we have today, because it does add up. It's been over a period of time, and we've been inflating for a long time. Every time we've had a crisis, we have sort of arrested that crisis by more inflation, exactly what we're doing now. But ultimately, people pay for it in higher prices. So if we look at the higher energy prices, and you and I would agree we need free markets and capitalism and more drilling and all this, but if there's an inflated price there due to the depreciation of money, that won't solve that part of the problem.
Well, that's the deal. Let me go with you on this. The Federal Reserve is accumulating more and more authority now in our financial system. They may well be the so-called, quote, financial stabilizer of last resort. They now have new regulatory power over Wall Street investment banks. And, of course, they're supposed to balance unemployment and inflation. Mr. Paul, with all these new missions, it seems to me, what's going to get sacrificed? Inflation and the dollar. Isn't that the way this is going to wind up?
Absolutely, but also our freedoms. Just that litany of what you listed there is central economic planning. We don't believe in central economic planning, at least I don't, but that's central economic planning through the monetary system and now the regulatory system. Not only does the Fed have the power over the supply and money and the interest rates, but now they want the regulatory function over more than just the banks, all the financial industries. I tell you, I think it's a bad sign for free market capitalism.
I've been talking, sir, a little bit just in recent days and weeks. This is a funny story. I'm calling it the new socialism. Nobody can fail in America. If something fails, then government's going to come in and bail them out. Now the latest, of course, is Fannie and Freddie. There's a huge housing bailout bill out there. Who knows? We may go to the airlines. We may go to the automobile companies. I don't know. You know, Phil Graham may have had a point. We are a nation of whiners. Nobody wants to lose. Capitalism, you're supposed to have the great opportunity and freedom to succeed, but you also have the freedom to fail. What's happened to the freedom to fail?
Well, you know, a lot of consumers and people who are losing their jobs, they have a right to be angry and complaining, and I sympathize with them. And you talk about socialism, and we do have a form of socialism creeping in, but it sort of is of the fascist type, because we have business and big government, you know, working together. It's not the old-fashioned type of socialism where government owns everything, but they do control a lot of the financial markets for the benefit of certain industries, whether it's the banks or other industries, and they do want bailed out, and they are socializing their failures, and that certainly shouldn't be what we're working for.
Mr. Paul, can you stay with us and work with our panel for a moment or two?
I think